Heyo, and what is up, gang? Thank you for checking out Sledgehammer TV tonight. WWE followed up its very well-received Super Smackdown from Madison Square Garden last week with a regular old Smackdown from Knoxville, Tennessee that goes to show you that the WWE can't follow up even when it gives you a good show, and we come back 7 days later and get the usual old suck down that we are used to, despite the fact that WWE's throwing all kinds of stuff at the wall and just picking what sticks, and they're still going with the obvious. And we're going to talk about all of that and so much more as we bring the hammer down on tonight's episode of SmackDown right here and right now. My name is Nick Nightmare. You are watching the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show SmackDown Review and Reaction Show. Let's do it.
Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.
This episode of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show is brought to you by BarkBox. Check them out right now, a monthly delivery service bringing you high-quality toys and healthy, delicious treats for your furry little wrestling fan at home. Use our exclusive link right now, barkbox.com/sledgehammertv, and get 1 month absolutely free when you sign up for a multi-month plan. Check it out right now. Many different themes available month after month, including a WWE box. Check out BarkBox right now, barkbox.com/sledgehammertv, and get your free box on me today. What a difference 7 days makes. I was myself in Madison Square Garden 7 days ago for Super Smackdown, and I had a very decent time. In fact, I had a great time because we seen the return of Brock Lesnar. We had a great Edge versus Seth Rollins match. We had the contract signing for Becky and Bianca and a lot more that was really good about last week's SmackDown. And everything else in between was still your usual SmackDown, but it didn't suck as bad as it usually does, as it did tonight. And it's not probably for the reasons that you think I'm going to bring the hammer down on it, although it is kind of in a way, but you're going to hear a lot of people shitting all over the fact that Big E showed up as the WWE champion tonight to confront Roman Reigns, and they're going to start pushing this feud between Roman and Big E. And yes, it's obvious. WWE's got their back against the wall. They're starting to feel the heat just a little bit, right? So what do? They do some of their favorite things that they love to do when they think they need to get some ratings, and champion versus champion, with everybody firmly behind Big E right now, is where their mindset went. Now, I'm going to step aside from everybody shitting on it so hard. Like, I don't like that they did it so quickly, and there's many reasons why we can criticize it, but let's just take a look at this logically. If I follow my own rules and the things that piss me off and the things that I like, then I can tell you honestly that I appreciate the fact that we are only in September. We are 2 solid months away from the Survivor Series, where they're obviously going to do the brand versus brand warfare bullshit, and they're starting to invest in the storyline 2 months out. They're not waiting 3 or 4 weeks before the Survivor Series to start figuring things out and telling us what's happening. They pretty much laid the foundation for Big E versus Roman, champion versus champion, brand supremacy at the Survivor Series. And I can appreciate them thinking long term, starting to plan things that people might get excited about. I appreciate them doing that. What I don't appreciate is the very knee-jerk way they went about it. Now, if this is something that you could have felt coming, then I would give them a little bit of credit. But Big E just out of nowhere on SmackDown at Madison Square Garden was like, oh, I'm going to show up on Raw. And then he shows up on Raw and cashes in on Bobby Lashley without acknowledging what Bobby Lashley did to his New Day brethren It was a special moment. It was great, but it really just came out of left field. And now they're going even further out into left field by immediately giving Big E and Roman Reigns a storyline going forward. It really doesn't make sense because we're not really at that part of the year yet where it's Raw versus SmackDown, but you can't be a hypocrite and criticize them for waiting too long to start it and then criticize them for starting it now. Where you can criticize them is because starting it now makes them look foolish and makes everything that I said pretty obvious to everybody, because Big E was nowhere in their sights for Roman Reigns or Survivor Series or anything just maybe over a week ago until they decided that they were going to do this. Because what does Roman have on his plate? He's got Finn Balor as the Demon. He's got Brock Lesnar at Crown Jewel. He's got all of this other stuff that doesn't involve a feud with Big E going forward. So starting it now with all of this shit in Roman's way that has nothing to do with that is kind of silly, right? It's kind of foolish. And it just shows the WWE's desperation here. And that they're just trying to pop a rating. They're trying to get people to watch. They're trying to take a left turn. And why is that really a bad thing? Why is everybody coming down on it like it's such a bad thing? Isn't this what we want? Don't we want them to take chances and do different things? No, I might not like how they went about it, but I appreciate what they're trying to do here with it. It's not that big of a fucking deal, everybody. And let's consider the fact that they are elevating Big E to the status where he could be side by side with Roman Reigns. The only negative is that everybody that we just named that is in Roman's path, from the WWE Champion Big E to Brock Lesnar to the Demon Finn Balor, none of them do I foresee losing to the Tribal Chief right now. I'm almost positive they are going to keep running with him till WrestleMania at the very least. Maybe even till the following year when they are in Hollywood and they have that dream match with The Rock. Roman might be reigning supreme for quite some time. And where I disagree with it is Big E right now should be involved in his own thing. Wouldn't it have been better just a little bit if maybe for like the first couple of weeks as champion, Big E really established himself as champion, maybe beat Bobby Lashley for a second time in a rematch on Raw, since they love doing rematches on Raw, maybe give him a nice title defense at Extreme Rules, because after Extreme Rules we still have to lead into Crown Jewel before we get to the Survivor Series, so that still leaves an adequate amount of time for them to build towards that. And I would have appreciated Big E standing on his own, showing his dominance without being in the ring with a guy that's obviously going to fucking beat him. And if he doesn't beat him, it's probably going to be because of some sort of schmaz shenanigans, and Big E will win by disqualification because Roman will get disqualified, and they'll take the easy way out just so that they can still have things the way they want it. But I don't appreciate how they're just using Finn Balor, bringing back the Demon, the sudden return of Brock Lesnar, all as just fodder to booster up the Tribal Chief. I mean, the Demon should not be being built back up to immediately fall down. Like, I know he lost as Finn Balor already, and he has no other choice because he didn't have a chance, and now he's got to dig down deep and pull out the Demon. And we've seen a promo tonight by Finn Balor where he explained to the entire world that, he has the Demon within him. It's something that he's brought out because he was never supposed to be a wrestler, and it's a dark place that he goes to get him where he needs to be. You see, because Finn Balor is from a railroad family, he said. I don't know what specifically they did. Maybe his family built railroads. Maybe they were train conductors. Maybe they laid out the plans for the new subway system in his home country of Ireland. But, does anybody know if Vince McMahon already knew about this? The one thing I'm scared about, while I did enjoy this promo because I liked how they got a little bit more in depth with Finn Balor, they gotta stop doing the I'm in the dark in the backstage thing. But, I liked the promo for the most part, but I'm afraid that Vince McMahon heard this and maybe is just now finding out that Finn Balor's family is a railroad family. And now, am I the only one that's scared that Finn Balor is going to come out as the demon riding on top of Thomas the Tank Engine, like, woo, woo, dun, 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 putting his hands up instead of the, you hear, choo, choo, bump, bump, choo, choo. Please let that not be a thing. I hope I didn't just wish that into existence. At least if he's going to do that and have the demon Finn Balor come out riding on a fucking train, it better be like some decked out weird demon fucking train from hell. Why do I think of these things? I don't know, but that's why you come to me, because I entertain you in ways that SmackDown just cannot. And, we had this show open up tonight the way the show always opens up. Roman Reigns came out. He wanted the crowd in Knoxville to acknowledge him. And then Paul Heyman took the microphone and said, "His hope, I'm Paul Heyman, and he's the tribal chief, and no man, no beast, no demon scares Roman Reigns." And, Paulie did his whole shtick, which brought out Big E, which started everybody's confusion. And don't get me wrong, as much as I kind of defended this maneuver here, I don't get it. I don't understand why they chose to go right to this, other than the fact that they've got to be shook. And don't tell me that they did it just to make a big 6-man tag to go head to head with Monday Night Football. Because, in the past, they used to say they don't give a shit about Monday Night Football. Everybody's their competition. They don't book their shows specifically to counteract on any bullshit. We're all calling bullshit on that. So we have Big E come out and interrupt Paulie, who's in the ring with the entire bloodline. And the crowd is solidly behind Big E, chanting, "You deserve it." All of a sudden, Finn Balor comes down. Not Demon Finn, obviously, regular Finn. And now we have an impromptu match where the WWE Champion from Raw is being teamed with the number one contender. Both of these men are in line to wrestle Roman Reigns, and they are being tagged together just randomly. Never before have these two men tagged or anything like that. And they're going up against the SmackDown Tag Team Champions, the Bloodline of the Usos. And what do you guys think happened? What the WWE loves to do. You see, they booked themselves into a corner here. Now, regardless how good this match was, look at the talent in the ring. You got Finn, you got Big E, and you got both Usos tag team mastery. This was a great match. I really enjoyed this matchup here. But to have Finn and Big E beat your tag team champions is wrong. Conversely, you can't have the tag team champions beat the Raw World Champion and subsequently the number one contender for the Universal title. So why book this match at all? And at the very least, you would think that Roman would be the one to come down and get involved and cause some shit. No. We get a coup de grace at the same time as Big E delivers a big ending to Jimmy Uso as Big E and Finn Balor beat the tag team champions. I feel like I don't even really remember the last time the Usos won. After the match, Big E and Finn Balor, of course, were celebrating. The fans cheered on. The Usos were recovering at ringside. And then we see Roman and Heyman in the back. Roman Reigns is pissed off that, his cousin's lost. He doesn't know what he's going to do. He asked Paul Heyman, "Is there anything that you think I need to know?" This was a typical back and forth. Now Roman's being suspicious of Paul now that Brock, his ex, is back in town. Which I think anybody would be, right? If you were in Roman Reigns' position, wouldn't you feel the same way? Anyway, Paul Heyman says not to worry about anything. He knows Brock Lesnar better than Brock Lesnar knows his own family. He knows how to deal with all of this. Roman Reigns doesn't really pay Heyman to be under the impression of things. He wants Heyman to know things in advance because Paul E was like, I'm under the impression that Brock wouldn't show up at Extreme Rules, which now throws the tease out there that makes you think maybe Brock's possibly going to cost Roman the championship, and then we'll have, what, Big E versus Finn Balor, the Demon, at Survivor Series? They wouldn't do that. Why would they do that? They're not going to do that. Okay, so let's just pretend we didn't hear any of this. The only thing I thought was interesting is that Roman was pushing, why didn't he tell me that Brock Lesnar was going to be at SummerSlam? But Roman Reigns says it's all a cover, it's a false narrative, and all this shit. It was okay. It was a little much, it was a little unnecessary, but once again, here we are. Big E and Finn Balor just beat the Usos, and Roman Reigns is sitting there talking about Brock Lesnar. There's just way too much going on. Way too much going on with all the championships in one storyline on both shows now that it's muddying the water. As much as I love Big E, there was no need for this to happen tonight. There's no need for Roman and the Usos to be on Monday Night Raw this upcoming Monday, other than the fact that the WWE are scared. But they're not scared enough. They're not scared enough to give me something good to watch. They're not scared enough that they wouldn't have Rick Boogs on the card wrestling this week. We had Rick Boogs, Shinsuke Nakamura's number one guy. He, ladies and gentlemen, wrestled the formerly glorious Bobby, Bobbert, whatever you want to call him, Bobby Roode, and he won. And this match was about 2 minutes long, and I didn't give a shit. And it was all just a precursor to Apollo Crews and Yabba Dabba Aziz Commander Doo coming out there to ambush Intercontinental Champion Nakamura-san and his Goon Patrol so that Apollo Crews can challenge once again. Make the challenge to get his Intercontinental Championship back, man. Didn't we see this like 17 times already? Shinsuke Nakamura has beaten Apollo Crews definitively, like in the last at least 5 or 6 matches without losing. Apollo Crews, now that Big E is gone, is just still focused on the Intercontinental Championship. He's done nothing but lose. They've given you no reason to look at him as a viable contender anymore. So who cares? Who cares? And this is leading to a match next week, Intercontinental title match for the 100th time, Shinsuke versus Apollo, and that's where they're going with that. They're not scared enough that they would make me have to watch happy fucking Corbin. The only thing happy about Corbin is his goofy, ridiculous grin. Here was a guy that had like 2 weeks of fucking bad luck and then turns it all around one night in Vegas and still is a complete fucking asshole. So obviously, Happy is a sarcastic name. It's not meant to emulate his personality in reality. It's the exact opposite. He's still just fucking Baron Corbin. Constable King dickhead himself without a crown. Now he's walking around in a fedora, he's chewing on toothpicks, and he's beating up Kevin Owens because Happy Corbin was going to fight Kevin Owens in what brings up the first rematch alert of the night. I have no choice because they keep doing this shit, and even though it didn't end up being a match, it was scheduled to be a match, which means it was supposed to go down. But Happy must have been grumpy Corbin tonight because he didn't even let Kevin Owens get in the ring before he attacked him. This match never got started, and I was mildly grateful because I didn't want to sit through it again. I don't care about this story whatsoever. All this is to me is a waste of Kevin Owens. And I hate it. I hate it so much. I hate it about as much as I hate the WWE constantly doing the same backstage segments as well. You see, people thought it was funny that Kayla Braxton pops up behind Paul Heyman, right? So now it's like a regular weekly thing. And she pops up, she approaches Paul Heyman, she asks some silly questions, he gets all pissed off about it, he tells her to stop flirting with him, then he turns around and there's Big E, because, you know, that's what we've been doing, and that's generated laughs from live crowds before, so we're going to do that again as well, even though at this point, we all already know where this is going. Big E said he's going to find out when he takes on his boy at Survivor Series. Paulie's going to find out. And pretty much put it right out there. So now we know definitively, Roman Reigns' next 3 matches in the next 3 pay-per-views, where the only common denominator is Roman. So what makes you think he's the one that's going to be losing in this next stretch? It's definitely not going to happen. The only good thing about this little backstage thing is they did throw a little curveball at the end, and they had the Usos beat the ever-loving shit out of the WWE champion, leaving Big E laid out in the backstage, kept telling him, you on the wrong show, and you messing with the wrong ones. And I enjoyed this part, because again, they're building towards the Survivor Series, and it's only September 17th. You can't get too mad about it. Even though it came out of nowhere, and the way they got there might have been shit. This is probably pretty interesting. Right? For you, I meant to say. It's pretty interesting for you. Because it is interesting for me. And if I'm interested, chances are you guys probably are too. You know what wasn't very interesting was Seth Rollins' promo. His suit choice was interesting, as usual. Seth Rollins decided to come out dressed up like the fucking Tin Man from The Wizard of Oz. And if that wasn't his inspiration, then he just probably forgot to get a suit this week and went to the local Walmart and grabbed about 50 friggin' rolls of aluminum foil and had Becky Lynch wrap them up like a conspiracy guy. You know, like those crazy people that wear the tinfoil hat. That was all that was missing from Seth Rollins, was a tinfoil hat. He went on and on and on about how he stomped Seth and he stomped Edge, and it felt like a cockroach underneath your boot because he felt the bone crunch, and then he was acting all sad and then was like, what did you think would happen? This was a very basic promo, the same shit he always says. I was waiting for him to say something new. I knew that he wasn't going to be finished with Edge because of the way the last match ended up. Edge was carted out of Madison Square Garden, not on his own power, thanks to the efforts of Seth Rollins. You think Edge isn't going to want some vengeance? Of course, we're going to see it again. And here, Seth Rollins says he's going to continue. He promises to finish Edge, so we're going to see them one more time. I wouldn't be surprised if Edge sells the injury and ducks out until after Crown Jewel. Maybe he makes an appearance at Extreme Rules, jumps Seth Rollins, I don't know. And then they end up finishing this thing at Survivor Series in some sort of a big blow-off match. You see, like, this would be the time where you might want to pull out a cage match, you know, or a street fight or something definitive. You know, maybe a Hell in a Cell. If you didn't kill that gimmick and give it its own pay-per-view, this would be the time you could do something like that. The appropriate time. Then we had Becky Lynch in the back. She's like, oh, I've never been to a homecoming before. Maybe I'll check it out. Becky Lynch is trying everything she possibly can do to come off as a heel. She's doing a good job of it, I guess. I'm just not buying it. And I think, you know, most fans really were looking forward to her coming back to still cheer her. We've always wanted to cheer her. Now we do want to cheer Bianca. So this is, if there is a chance, it's probably going to happen now. But my question for everybody really is, I know this is the program they're going with, but where the hell is Sasha Banks? Where is Sasha Banks, man? Becky Lynch was called up and just put into the Sasha role. And when Sasha comes back now, her and Becky are gonna both be heel. It's gonna be weird and confusing. But whatever, we'll worry about that when we get to it. The women's division continues to be a hot fucking mess, no matter what show you're watching in the WWE. Tonight, we got the match we were supposed to get last week as Zelina Vega teams with Carmella, and they're like besties now for whatever reason. I don't know. Both of these girls wanted to kill each other a couple of weeks ago to get a shot at the women's champion, and now they're best friends and they're a tag team. WWE Logic 101. Throw it out the window. Who gives a shit? This is what we want to do, and now this is where we're going to go. Same thing, conversely, I guess could be said with Liv Morgan being just randomly thrown together with Toni Storm. Yes, this was planned for last week. Toni Storm was supposed to wrestle in Madison Square Garden. I guess that didn't matter to the WWE. I guess she wasn't looked at important enough to do that. Just like Zelina Vega, as a victim of 9/11, losing her father, wasn't looked as enough of an importance to take precedent on that show. I think, I'm glad now in retrospect, because this tag team match, I'm sitting here watching them come out for this thing, and I'm knowing this is about to happen, and I have no good feelings about it. I know what's coming, some sort of a stupid, 2-minute bullshit segment. But I had a slight little bit of hope, being that the WWE's been so heavily criticized about how they've been using the women lately, that maybe they're going to make a left turn here and maybe they'll let them actually wrestle. But man, I was fucking wrong, and this was terrible and had one of the worst endings to a wrestling match ever. Made Carmella look worse than she's ever looked before, and that's a pretty high bar to jump over, because she's not been the best. And tonight she's looked the worst ever. You see, 2 minutes into the match, Carmella was thrown face first into the middle turnbuckle, and she claimed her nose was broken. Now, there wasn't a drip of blood, wasn't a drop of blood anywhere, so obviously this wasn't a broken nose. She was overselling it, because she's the most beautiful woman on all of SmackDown, self-proclaimed most beautiful woman in the WWE or whatever. So, she's doing the whole Cody Rhodes thing. He was so handsome. You touched my face. Don't touch my face. And you touched her face. And now she's got a broken nose, she thought. And Zelina Vega is like being all supportive and like trying to help her out. And like, oh, don't worry. You're still beautiful, honey. You're still beautiful. Don't worry. And I'm sitting here like, why the fuck do you care? Why do you suddenly care whether or not Carmella broke her nose? If I was her tag team partner, I'd be fucking pissed. You broke your nose, now I'm going to lose this match. And it's because you're an asshole, and your nose isn't even broken, and now I'm really going to break it. That's what would happen if I was her tag team partner as a female. But Zelina Vega is just, now she's worried about Carmella. And now on the opposite side of the team, Liv Morgan, who's the one that gave the injury to Carmella, is the one getting all of the push and all of the heat here. Not Toni Storm, the one that's been called up from NXT to bring and breathe some new life into the women's division. She's not the spotlight. She's not getting the match versus Carmella. She didn't break her nose. She didn't do anything. This all went to Liv Morgan, somebody who's been on this fucking SmackDown show and then on Raw and then on SmackDown and then on Raw. And they've had years to get her over. They've had months of absolutely nothing from Liv Morgan, and now we're supposed to be taking her seriously. And the best way we can get the crowd to take her seriously is to put her in a match with Carmella, who just went home crying like a bitch over nothing because, she hit her face a little bit. Really, at the end of the day, that's what happened. This is fucking terrible. Everything about this segment is terrible. Their use of Zelina Vega, terrible. The blatant misuse of Toni Storm. Why is Liv Morgan the centerpiece? She should have already been over. It's not our fault that you fucked that up. But now Toni Storm's just standing in the background clapping like a fucking diva. while Liv Morgan's taking charge. Oh, I'm going to fight you now. At Extreme Rules, no less. This is a fucking pay-per-view match. Carmella versus Liv Morgan over a fake broken nose. Ugh. What dog shit. You want to... If there was ever a fucking time to drop the poop hammer, now is that time. What a hot, steamy pile of crap this is. You know, it makes me wonder. I wonder if there are actually any fucking females on the creative team at all. Is there any woman there that didn't fucking stand up and be like, yeah, like this is stupid. And we haven't had a women's match on SmackDown in fucking 3 weeks, and now you want to give them 2 minutes and make them look like a bunch of clowns. Oh, and what about this Toni Storm girl? She was supposed to be good. Shouldn't she be like building herself up to be number one contender for fucking Becky Lynch or Bianca? Oh no, we're just gonna have her be fourth wheel to Liv Morgan, Carmella, and Zelina Vega. Great job. Great job. Thanks, Vince. Asshole. Then we had Finn Balor's little saga of the demon. He says everybody always wants to know about the demon story. He doesn't come from a famous wrestling family or a famous bloodline like Roman Reigns. He was born into a family of coal miners. Not coal miners, railroad. Born into a family that was in the railroad business. I don't know why I said coal miners. Ugh, that's just my wrestling brain triggering right there. But it was a great promo. It was a good promo. It's a lot of what I expected to see from him the first time around with the demon. You know, this is a much better presentation. It's unfortunate that they're finally getting it right, and he's going to be losing to Roman Reigns. I mean, it's not a burial, but I mean, the demon used to be the one time you kind of knew that Finn was going to win, right? Like, it's the time that it put him over, till he came to Monday Night Raw and became poisoned with the WWE's stench of the main roster. And, you know, now it's happening to him again. If you think about it, it's happening to him again. They built him back up in a short amount of time. They're bringing back the demon, but they're only bringing back the demon to lose to Roman Reigns before he moves on to Brock Lesnar. Finn Balor is an oversight. So regardless how much you may or may not have liked this promo, that remains to be the gospel truth. You know what else is the gospel truth? That I could care less about Dominic Mysterio. If there was ever a fucking superstar that the WWE has brought up, I don't think I've not given a shit and have cared less about a superstar on the roster since Zach Gowen was around. Remember that guy? The guy with the kid with the one leg that Vince McMahon kicked? And it was just a whole embarrassing thing with Hulk Hogan as Mr. America, and it was just a stain on the world of professional wrestling. Not because the guy was disabled, but because of the way they booked the whole thing as a fucking circus sideshow. Yeah, that's the vibes I'm getting here. You see, and they're making Rey Mysterio out to be an asshole. Think about this. They set this match up by telling us that Dominic, earlier today, has told Rey Mysterio he wants to do this on his own. He's going to have another match. He's going to have a third match with Sami Zayn on SmackDown tonight. So trigger the rematch alert, because we're going to get this again. But this time he wants to do it without Tiny Dad in the corner. He wants to just focus on his match without Dad. So then Dominic comes out for his match, and he's not even finished with his fucking entrance. And booyaka, booyaka, here I come. I'm an overbearing dad, tiny son. Oh, I mean, giant man, son. I'm a tiny overbearing prick. Is Rey Mysterio one of those parents? You know those parents you see, that have kids, you know, you have the ones that don't let go, right? They wipe their nose for them and they're still 17. You know, like, we don't need to see this like this. I mean, I'm all for the Dominic Rey split. I think that's a great way to get over Dominic Mysterio. And I think it's the only way to go forward because as a babyface, this kid is going to flop. He's going to flop harder than a 100-pound bag of potatoes off a 3-story roof. It's just not going to end up good. You're going to end up with mashed potatoes and not the good edible kind that you could enjoy. It's going to be raw, nasty, full of skin, no salt, no pepper, no butter, just on the sidewalk with dirt and shit. That's going to be Dominic Mysterio if he ends up being a babyface. You can't put him in the shoes of Rey Mysterio. And it just, to me, they're making Rey look like the bad guy. Because here the son says, stay, Dad. And Dad's like, no, I just want to be out here to support you. And while at the same time, Rey Mysterio played no part in the outcome of this match. He had nothing to do with it at all. So why the fuck would Dominic even be mad? He's just going to be mad that his dad came out. But his dad came out and then sat on commentary as if he was just a fan on the outside. He didn't get involved. He didn't make a distraction. He didn't do anything. And the story they're trying to tell here is that Dominic is continuing to lose by making rookie mistakes, to which if he would just listen to his dad, he might actually be able to beat Sami Zayn. He's now 0-3 versus Sami Zayn, who's not really at the top of the card. So if he can't beat Sami Zayn, that says something right now. Sami Zayn used to be fantastic. And yeah, he's got an Intercontinental Championship run under his belt. But this is not the Sami Zayn that was killing himself in NXT. This is a completely different Sami Zayn. It's one that I'm not too fond of as a character. He comes off as more annoying. And now he's just beating up Dominic Mysterio week after week. And I have no sympathy for him because I like I said, I care less about this character than maybe any on the roster, maybe even less than Reggie, and that's pretty low on my fucking radar. Dominic Mysterio's character to me is a dead issue, and until he breaks away from Rey Mysterio and does his own thing, possibly as a heel, channel his inner Uncle Eddie and go forward that way, that would be better, and then he could always revert back to the Mysterio ways and become a babyface down the line. Right now, it's a bag of flopping potatoes off a 3-story roof. We also seen Naomi backstage in another segment with Sonya Deville. Sonya was on the phone in the back doing business, and then Naomi came up and confronted her, and I really did like this segment. I think of all of the segments tonight, this one might have been my favorite. Naomi just really came off very impressively. She delivered her promo very well. She seemed very intense. It seemed almost playing off of real life in some way, even though it's probably not. It just had like a very real quality to it because for weeks we've been seeing Sonya just blowing off Naomi. She's been on SmackDown for like 2 months. She hasn't gotten a match yet. She's the wife of one of the members of the Bloodline, and apparently Naomi's blood pressure line is finally raising to the point where she cannot take it anymore, and she has confronted Sonya Deville tonight, saying if she doesn't get the match, she's going to make the match herself somehow. She doesn't know what Sonya Deville's problem is with her, and nor does she care. She also threw down the fact that she's accomplished more than Deville has ever done. She's a former SmackDown Women's Champion 2 times. And what has Sonya Deville done? She's done absolutely fucking nothing. And then Naomi promised to get her match. And then we come back from commercial and they're like, oh, Michael Cole's like, oh, by the way, WWE management has fined Naomi for insubordination. What did she do that was insubordinate? Is Sonya Deville even a fucking authority figure or not? What is her official title? How is she getting Naomi fined for insubordination when nothing's even really happened yet besides a small confrontation in the back? Is it insubordination to ask your fucking boss to go to work, and if you don't want me to work, then just, I'm gonna go to work anyway? Like, is that... I don't know. You guys can have at that. Let me know in the comments below. Then we have the main event segment. The Bianca Belair homecoming to Knoxville, Tennessee. And this was about as predictable as apple pie on Thanksgiving. You guys, this is just simple, easy WWE trying to pander to the crowd while simultaneously building the Becky Lynch versus Bianca thing. WWE hates hometown kids or hometown superstars in their hometown. It's what they do. And I almost was hopeful that they were going to do something different and actually let Bianca go over in her hometown, being that she's been on such like a skid as of late, and maybe start to pick up her momentum from here. But it all went downhill immediately when the former Kane, now mayor of Knoxville, Glenn Jacobs, shows up. Now he's the mayor of Knox County, which I guess I don't know anything about Knoxville nor Tennessee, so I'm assuming Knoxville, Knox County, it all is encompassing of one another. So Kane is in charge of Bianca Belair's hometown as the mayor, and he came here tonight to celebrate with Bianca. So now I'm thinking either Kane's going to chokeslam Bianca for Becky, or maybe Kane's going to save Bianca from Becky, being that they're both Knoxville people. We're in Knoxville. We could end with a big hurrah of some sort. But instead they did the very usual thing they do, the very typical, very predictable Becky Lynch going over at the end. Bianca Belair tried to get one over and tried to hit the KOD, but Becky Lynch slipped out and then hit the manhandle slam, to which everybody got all pissed off and booed, which means mission accomplished, right? Because this segment was not about elevating Bianca Belair. It wasn't about reestablishing her in any way. It wasn't about building up any momentum. Did I say that already? I don't know. But if I did, that's what they should be doing here. And it would have been refreshing. And with Kane being involved, you definitely could have had him play a part, or at least maybe keep them apart, or do something interesting. You know, you just pretty much had him show up to give Bianca Belair the key to the city, and then did nothing with the key. Why didn't she hit her with the key? Why bother going through all the trouble of making the key, showing the key, having Kane unveil the key, and then you don't do jack shit with the key? It's silly, right? You don't show Chekhov's gun and then not use the gun. I don't know. Anyway, I didn't have too much of a problem with it, but this is just very typical. Nothing to get too excited about. They're trying to build the hype for Becky versus Bianca's rematch at Extreme Rules. Bianca thinks she's going to win. Big time Bex thinks she's going to win. And we're all going to have to tune in at the end of the day to find out who actually does win at this pay-per-view. It should be at least a match this time, right? It's not going to be 27 seconds. I hope. And possibly even put the title back on Bianca Belair, and maybe, Becky Lynch will take another little sabbatical for a little while. But I doubt that. Right now, WWE's calling in all hands on deck, bringing on all the big guns. And Becky Lynch says two of the biggest guns they got. You know what I'm saying? Next week, we have Intercontinental Champion Shinsuke Nakamura, most likely with Boogs, defending against Apollo Crews, and Liv Morgan taking on Zelina Vega. Probably more in the Roman Reigns Big E saga, but that we have to stop at Monday Night Raw first, as we're going to have the New Day versus the Bloodline, first time ever on Monday Night Raw. For whatever reason, I guess they have to justify the New Day being there. It's okay for Big E to jump shows, but the New Day, I don't know. WWE's desperation is clear as day. They got to get Roman on both shows. This is all because USA is a bunch of crybaby bitches, and SmackDown's got the momentum right now, and USA is like, oh well, we got his Bobby Lashley, and who else? Nobody. We got AJ Styles, but you're not using him, and you got John Morrison as a joke, and you got stupid tag teams, and they got Roman and Brock and Becky and. So they got to appease both networks. And this is the problem with running your brand on two rival company networks. More changes are probably incoming as the draft is just a few weeks away. And I'm going to be at the UBS Arena for Monday Night Raw a couple of days after Thanksgiving. I'm going to be at the UBS Arena for AEW Dynamite the week after that. But more importantly, this Wednesday, I'm going to be at the Dynamite / Rampage taping at Arthur Ashe Stadium, the historic show, AEW's first broadcast from New York. Punk is going to be there. Daniel Bryan's going to be there facing off against Kenny Omega. It's going to be a happening, as the Gorilla used to say. I'm going to be there. I'm going all over. I'm going all out, man. I'm going to everything I could possibly go to, just in case, God forbid, everything gets taken away again. You don't realize, what you got till it's gone. And that year and a half, or almost 2 years of the pandemic where everything was shut down, man, you don't realize the toll it takes until you get back out there and you feel that energy again. And it's just awesome. And SmackDown, Super SmackDown was a great way to kick it off. If you want to hear more about my thoughts on that, you can check out that review. That'll be linked in the annotations up above. But to hear Brock Lesnar's theme music once again, to be there for Edge at wrestling again at Madison Square Garden, Becky Lynch, it was a great night. I wish tonight's SmackDown was a great night as well. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Thank you guys all so much for joining me. We're going to wrap it up right now. And in case you missed anything, they will be linked in the annotations up above. Check out our sponsor, BarkBox. The link will be in the description below. So you can click that, go check it out, jump on that deal before it's gone. While you're down there, do all the YouTube things that help us out with the algorithm and help us try to get growing over the 3,000 subscriber mark before we hit Halloween. That would be a great target. Maybe if we get there, maybe I'll dress up as a superstar for you for a Halloween show of some sort. Maybe I'll have to take something from what they do over at Wrestle Talk, since they take so much stuff that I go here from me. That's bullshit. But you know what I mean. I got to do something, right? You want to see me do some crazy wrestling stuff? I got to do what I got to do, right? We got to get this channel trending, so let's try to do that. So you can help me by hitting that like button, smashing that subscribe button if you're not already a Sledgehead of Sledge Nation, and coming back for more every single time an episode drops. And you will know if you hit that notification bell, so don't forget to do that. My name is Nick Nightmare. This is the team Thor the Sledgehammer, the official Sledgehammer, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, his tag team partner, the World Heavyweight Champion of all the microphones in all the world, Mr. Blue, the Yeti microphone, the most important member of the team as always, each and every one of you. Thank you so much for being here. That is going to do it. We are out of here. We will see you next time right here on your new favorite wrestling show, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, only on Sledgehammer TV, right here on YouTube.com. Boom.
Thanks, Vince. Oh.